necessary escort, but he was also wary and more than a little intrigued. Like any true priest of Yunharla, goddess of trickery, Harar relished games of deception and strategy. His old friend Savong La was a master of the multi-layered agenda, and Harar expected nothing less from the young commander. Kali turned to meet the priest's scrutiny. His gaze was respectful but direct.
"May I speak freely, Eminence?"
Harar began to suspect Savong La's purpose in sending his son to a trickster priest. Candor was a weakness, a potentially fatal one.
"In this matter, consider the War Master's judgment,"
he advised, hiding words of caution in seeming assent. The young male nodded solemnly.
"Savong La entrusted you with the sacrifice of the twin Jedi. The success of his latest implant is still in the hands of the gods, and you are his chosen intercessor. What the War Master honors, I revere."
He concluded his words by dropping to one knee and lowering his head in a respectful bow. This was hardly the message Harar intended to send, but Kali-La seemed content with their exchange. He rose and directed his attention back to the world ship.
"In plain speech, then, it appears the battle is not going as well as anticipated. Perhaps not even as well as Nomenor reported."
Harar's scarred forehead creased in a scowl. He himself held a dubious opinion of the Yuuzhan Vong spy, but Nomenor enjoyed the rank of executor and was not to be lightly criticized.
"Such words veer dangerously close to treason, my young friend." "Truth is never treason,"
Kali-La stated. The priest carefully weighed these words. To the priesthood of Yunharla and among certain other factions, this proverb was an ironic jest, but there was no mistaking the ringing sincerity in the younger male's tones. Harar schooled his face to match the warrior's earnest expression.
"Pray explain."
Kali-La pointed to a small, dark shape hurtling away from the world ship at an oblique vector to the priest ship's approach.
"That is the Kastar, the frigate which brought Nomenor to Merkur."
The priest leaned closer to the viewing portal, but his eyes were not nearly as keen as Kali-La's enhanced implants. He tapped one hand against the portal. In response, the thin membrane nictitated from side to side, cleaning the transparent surface. The living tissue reshaped, exaggerating the convex curve to provide sharper focus and faint magnification.
"Yes,"
the priest murmured, noting the distinctive knobs and bumps on the underside of the approaching ship.
"And if the battle against the Jedi is all but won, as Nomenor reported, why does he flee? I must speak to him at once."
Kali-La turned toward the door and repeated Harar's words as an order. The guards stationed there thumped their fists to opposite shoulders and strode off to tend their commander's bidding. The swift click of chitinous boots announced a subordinate's approach. A female warrior garishly tattooed in green and yellow entered the room, a crenellated form cradled in her taloned hands. She bowed and presented the villip to Harar. The priest dismissed her with an absent wave and began to stroke the small sentient globe. The outer layer peeled back, and the soft tissue within began to rearrange itself into a rough semblance of Nomenor's scarred visage. One eye socket was empty and sunken, and the bruised eyelid seemed to sag into the blue crescent sac beneath. The venom-spitting bowl that had once distinguished Nomenor's countenance was gone, and evidently he had not yet been permitted to replace it. Harar's eyes narrowed in satisfaction. Nomenor had failed repeatedly, but never once had he accepted responsibility for his actions. In a manner most unworthy of a Yuuzhan Vong, he had foisted blame upon others. Harar had suffered a temporary demotion for his part in a failed espionage scheme. Nomenor had merely received a reprimand, even though his agents played a significant role in the plot's failure. In Harar's opinion, the blurred face testified that the gods' justice would, in time, be served. The image of Nomenor, imprecise though it was, nevertheless managed to convey a sense of impatience, perhaps even anxiety.
"Your Eminence,"
began Nomenor.
"Your report,"
Harar broke in curtly. Nomenor's one eye narrowed.